Hello everyone, welcome to another Dissidia Omnia beginner-oriented video. This is going to be a bit of an abstract video because I'm going to be offering advice on how to consider pulling for a unit, for both a casual player and more long-term players who want to complete content. Not really something you can explain in any visible form, but I hope it'll make some sense. If you've seen my video on difficulties, you'll know that the core story of this game isn't very hard. You can pretty freely pull whoever you want, favorite characters, anyone you think looks neat, anyone with cool moves. As long as you decently build them up in terms of crystal levels and probably weapon passives, you can get through the ever-increasing story of this game, as well as lost chapters and assorted events. However, this will only get you through normal difficulty stuff and probably only everything up until EX difficulty. Like most gacha games, there are banners to pull from, units to serve as stronger analogs of other ones, the whole concept of power creep, you get it. There are plenty of other content creators who do character overviews and should you pull discussions, which are always a good time. They go over a character's strengths and why you'd want them. But as a whole, why do you want more units? Unlike other gachas, there isn't an elemental triangle you can follow in terms of what's stronger than what, and in fact, this game probably more often sets restrictions that indirectly highlight a unit type that you should bring rather than give a damage advantage. The answer is role diversity. Like all gacha games, units are divided into roles, albeit the game doesn't explicitly say what those roles are and you have to look at their skills and extension passives. Roles you'd imagine from other games are tanks, damage units, and supports. Some of these categories can get a bit more in-depth, such as all roles having options for physical, ranged, and magic brave attack types, and support roles having specializations such as debuffer, dispeller, and healer. Different quests and fights will call for different specializations. For example, the Deuce Lost Chapter Chaos fight has heavily reduced damage when using physical brave attacks, meaning you are heavily recommended to use magic attacks for it. In the same vein, there are some such as the Lawn and Rain Lost Chapter Chaos fight where the complete opposite takes place. The boss takes heavily reduced damage from magic attacks, encouraging a primarily physical damage oriented team. This doesn't even factor the elemental attributes this game does have, which can let you bypass some of these restrictions outright. Besides just attack units, there are fights that have enemies that buff themselves heavily, encouraging dispelling and debuffing. Others have normally unavoidable HP damage, necessitating healing or damage mitigation in some way. All this comes to a head in Dimensions End, which is probably best described as the endgame content for Omnia. Dimensions End is divided into three towers, so to say: Order, Pathos, and Entropy, with the levels and requirements getting progressively more difficult as you go from Order to Entropy. The way DE works is that to progress higher into any of the towers, you need to perfect the lower stages, meaning you need to complete all mission objectives and get the score within the same run. Once you've done that, you can progress higher. However, this also locks out the units you use from use higher in the same tower. They can be freed up, but this will remove the perfect status from that stage, and you'll need to do it again if you want a proper full perfect status for the whole tower. As you'd imagine, this naturally calls for role diversity when it comes to pulling. For example, in the first 5 tiers of Entropy alone, you're asked for high melee damage, high magic damage, units that don't require debuffs to function, and then 2 separate tiers that are generally recommended to have either a heavy debuffer or a dispeller to help get through them. And, as mentioned earlier, getting a perfect in a DE tier locks those units from use higher in the tower unless you remove that perfect and unlock them. So that's already up to 15 unique units pulled for, prepared, and locked away in Dimensions End. Like most gacha games, you can't really define one end-all be-all unit that gets everything done for you. Lightning is a strong damage unit who can delay and bypass damage restrictions in most cases. Zack is a high damage tank who, under the right conditions, can essentially nullify damage. Ishtala is a support who can delay and provide high regen and healing. Cloud of Darkness is incredibly high magic damage. The list of characters with different strengths goes on and on. All characters generally do something a little bit different, and even if 2 characters do have a lot of overlap, that doesn't necessarily make the lesser one useless. For example, Ignis, Lena, and Aphmau all offer 100% debuff immunity, but offer different strengths in terms of auras, turn efficiency, and regen. On top of that, with how I explained the lock-on mechanic of Dimensions End earlier, each one of them is actually equally valuable if you're looking for debuff immunity. All you have to do is figure out how to build around them. Hopefully you found this little breakdown a bit interesting. As I said at the beginning, if you're in this game for the story, feel free to get and upgrade whoever you want, you'll do fine. Some people really mostly care for the story and don't want to put the extra time into this game. I can respect that. But if you're looking to push into harder content and do more in events, you'll need to look into balancing out your roster and making mostly good pull choices. If you liked the video, let me know, and I hope to catch you around next time. Thanks for watching!